basics. So let's give it like this, basics. Now let me tell you some information that the AWS NuGet packages actually support .NET Core 1.1 and also .NET Framework. So if you're like using .NET Framework 2.2, you might have some troubles, and to avoid these troubles and to make sure that we can work with a stable solution, we will be going with the .NET Framework. So now I'm gonna create this. Now after we have created this project, if we go to the Solution Explorer, what we need to do the following. We need to install the packages that we need to, so we can like interact with the AWS cloud. Now the first package, if you just type in AWS in the search, you will have the AWS SDK core, which is the core package for your work. So we're gonna need to install that. And after installing it, what I will do, I will also install the AWS S3 package. So we can do this demo, and we can connect to the AWS S3 services. So now I guess it's not showing up. I'm gonna search for S3 like this. So okay, this is the package. So it's the AWS SDK.S3. If you want to install it quickly from NuGet, I'm gonna download that as well. And now we have installed the required items, so we can work with the AWS S3. Now what we will do, we will go now and do the most basic thing which will be encountering in almost all the projects we will deal with, which is the authentication. Now I'm gonna create a new credentials object. And it will be from type new basic AWS credentials. Just copy this, and I'm gonna import this. Now here you will need to provide your access key and your secret key, which I will recommend to go to the app.config, go to the app settings section, and add key with the, let's say, the access ID, okay, and the secret key. So now we will be placing our values right here. So I'm gonna come back right here. I'm gonna call configuration manager, configuration. Okay, oops, I guess we need to type in everything. Okay, now if it doesn't come like this, we will need to go add a new reference. Look for system.configuration and let's hit OK. Oh, still, oh, I have a misspelling. Configuration manager. Yes, and we need to call the app settings and pass the first key and the second key. So I'm gonna just duplicate that really quick. I'm gonna hit back to my app config. Okay, so now we have our own credentials, and they will be stored in a nice location, where that location will be shared, like if we need it to be read again. Now what I want to do, I want to create a new S3 client. S3 client. Okay, we need to import that. Now what we need to do, we need to pass the credentials to this client, and we need to set our own region endpoint. Now to set the region endpoint, we go to Amazon.region endpoint and set the appropriate endpoint. So let's say that I have it in US West 1. Okay, so now we have created the using statement for the client, and now we have the client. What I want to do, I want to get all the buckets inside this client and render them on the screen. So what I will do, I will create a for each item in client dot list buckets. This method will list all the buckets that is available for you. Okay, and we need to call buckets like this. I'm gonna call it bucket. Now what I will do, I will print them out on the screen. Okay, so we have the bucket name, and also I want to print its creation date. I'll just add a space. Bucket.creation date dot to short date string. Okay, and we're gonna print out this to the screen. Now I will pause the recording so I can fill these access keys, so we can see like all the buckets listed inside our own console screen. So now I have added the keys inside the app settings, and notice just I've enhanced the code a little bit and added this read line so we can stop the console screen and see the output. So now if I run this, notice that I will get all the buckets I have inside my own account along with their creation date. So as you can see, it's quite simple to connect to the AWS services. We need to just pass in the correct credentials and then use the appropriate client for the service that we desire to use, and then we will be able to connect and do whatever, like our own granted permissions. Remember that is really important. Our own granted permission from the IAM from AWS console to do with the AWS service and see like their interaction right here. Notice that I am inside this new project I've created, which is the S3 console, and I have the same code that you've seen in the first lecture right here, so we can access the bucket. So now what we want to do, we want to create a new bucket and make sure that bucket exists inside the AWS console. So now what I will do, or what you will need to do so you can create a new bucket, you will need to pass a bucket request. And that will be a new type of put bucket request. Now, if you notice with me the parameters or the properties that you can pass to the bucket, so you can like have it created. Now be careful, if your bucket name is already used inside the same region, it will not be created. It's need to be unique. So now I will call my bucket my app maybe 564, just a random name. Now I want to either specify the region for my bucket or use the same region as the client bucket. Okay, so now we have the code needed actually to create a new bucket. What we will need to do is to get the response from the bucket or the client code. So now we're gonna create a new bucket response. It will actually get data from the put bucket method. Notice with me that you can either pass the object of put bucket request or just the bucket name. So now we have what we need to create this bucket, but I want to just type a friendly message that my bucket is actually created. So I will go to bucket response and gonna check for the HTTP status, which shall be okay. Okay, so now we have the needed code. What we need to do is just simply run this project. Notice that we have the success message and now we have our own bucket created. If you head over to the bucket list, you will see it inside your own AWS console. Now I will give you some hint to help you with creating your bucket, and that will be using the Amazon S3 util class. So the Amazon S3 util class will actually give you some helpful method you can use. So you have like some checks before creating a bucket, and that check will be, does the S3 bucket exist? You need to pass in the client and also the bucket name. So I'm gonna pass just the same name here, and notice it's return a boolean. So what I will do, I will do a check like this and type that bucket already exists. Okay, else create that bucket. So now if I go and run this code, it will not create a new bucket for me, since this bucket already exists with the same name. Notice that we are getting this message which indicates that this bucket is already created inside our own AWS account. And as you can see, the guys at the Amazon AWS .NET SDK actually made like the code very friendly and very easy to interact and create with, and with just a few lines you can specify your bucket and create it.